Welcome to another episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Here on this warm, sunny morning, we find ourselves following Julian Benavides as he walks the streets of Ballard. He moves with a quick, confident stride heading towards the library, because he has just been sent on a mission by Madame Lou Graham. You make your way through the winding streets and up this little path heading towards the library and see what has fairly quickly become a familiar sight. There is a gentleman nearby, a very burly, broad-shouldered man who has become a fixture here at the library. His name is Stefan, and together with your allies at the library, you recently saved his niece Lottie. Stefan has been hired on here as a guard and is now a permanent resident of the library, helping to keep you all safe should anything untoward happen. He tips his cap to Julian and opens the door for you as you head inside.
As I walk up rather quickly, I kind of nod to him, tip my cap. Stefan, I'm heading inside.
Mr. Benavides. And he just kind of puts two little fingers on the top of it.
Yeah, I don't even really acknowledge the acknowledgement and just hustle inside.
Now, unfortunately, during our interlude session, we had a lot to do. We had a lot of things to talk about and a lot of sick child to diagnose. So we kind of ran out of time to do the things we normally do during the interlude. Phoenix, Julian did a little bit of leveling up last session. Can you tell me what he gained?
He has spent a lot of time training, and he has increased his ranged combat, vigilance, and manipulation all by 1. He has also developed lightning reflexes, allowing him to draw his weapons without using his fast action. Got all sorts of things he can do with his fast action now.
Nice.
And then the other thing is he was speaking with Madame Lou and purchased a trinket from her. Kind of looks like a little crystal that she swears is lucky, and required some compensation for it. So he went ahead and purchased that off of her.
Nice. And what item were you bringing forward from our previous mysteries?
I am bringing forward the hurricane lamp that Sofie had previously held onto.
Perfect. Now, speaking of Sofie, you know exactly where in this building you are going to find her and Dr. Jensen. So Julian makes his winding way through to the very center of the building in the library itself. And sure enough, there the two of them are with old Agda and Thorn. The massive Norwegian elk hound is just curled up, stretched out, laying in one corner of the library. Agda is wheeling her chair, getting books as they're asking for them, and the two of them have been doing a lot of digging into various tomes.
Sofie is periodically giving little pieces of cheese to Thorn, and also to Yorts. But Yorts, for some reason, isn't huge on cheese, so... Which is good, because there's a lot of cheese at Sofie's house, and they would all be in a lot of trouble if he was really into it.
How many pockets are full of cheese?
She only has one cheese
Listen,
pocket.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
That's a very good point. I retract the question.
Speaking of Sofie, she has also done a little leveling up between sessions. What has Sofie gained?
She got the caretaker talent, which allows her to just sort of comfort her companions and possibly heal their conditions. She also got a point in investigation, and she also got one in wealthy and defensive. Nice. So yeah, she's getting a little bit of income from a book that she wrote, which you don't even know about that yet. You'll find out later, and so will I. Her friend Julian, ever concerned for her self-defense and safety, has generously loaned her his shotgun And then she's also purchased some scrolls that she found in a little used bookstore, little hole-in-the-wall place that she likes to go to, that they're in Norwegian, and she's working on translating them with Matthias and hoping that maybe they'll help out when they're doing their investigations.
Excellent. And sitting at a table about a desk away, under this massive candelabra filled with candles that are lighting up this room that has no windows to the outside world, is Dr. Jensen. Now, you have gotten something of a crash course in the Vossen recently.
You could say that.
And have been here taking in all of this new knowledge and this wealth of supernatural information. Given that you had a pretty rough crash course, have you also done a little bit of leveling up?
Just a little bit. So, kind of since the revelation of this whole new dynamic to reality that previously Lucius was not aware of, he has since spent the majority of his time in the library researching. It initially started with trying to find out more like kind of medical signs or things and poisons, toxins, things to worry about with the various Vossen, the Vossen, and then just even then beyond just trying to learn anything he can, and even beyond that, if there's any potentially new or different medicinal qualities to any of these Vossen. But through his research, which is it's been a while since his school days. Lucius has also come across more recent kind of textbooks on medicine and surgery. So in his level up, he's gained battle experience. So he now has +2 to medicine for when he's treating a physical critical injury.
Excellent. All right. Julian, you find the 2 companions who you've been looking for. And what do?
Yeah, Julian walks into the room, mildly out of breath. He was walking pretty quick to get to the library, sees everyone there. And actually, a question here. Would he know, like, in a situation where we needed to bring something up, would that be something I would just go straight to, like, Sofie and Dr. Jensen for? Or is this something where I'd want to, like, gather Matthias and alert him before starting anything?
Could kind of go either way. It is up to you if this is an official engagement from the library, as Madame Lou had come to you, not had reached out to the library itself. So you can definitely talk to Matthias about it, or if you wanted to, you could just say, hey, I got a job we got to work on.
Oh... He's... Okay, so I'm going to walk into the room, and as I see everyone there, I will turn to Lucius and Sofie. Both of you, I need you. We have a job that needs to be done. I'll turn over to Agda. Speak. I like take an inhale as if I'm about to speak, and then kind of think better of it. Thorn, I need you to go get Matthias. Go.
What
Thorn,
are you talking
now.
to my dog about? And the dog kind of wiggles its way up where it was laying on its back and is looking at you very expectantly for a second.
Agda?
Yes?
Would you be a lamb and please go find Matthias? It's urgent.
I can get Matthias, but none of you 3 take any books out of this library. I'm still doing an audit after Kaylin
Agda,
left.
move your ass.
Careful, lad.
Hearing that will actually make Lucius look up from whatever books he's reading to be like, oh, so this is an actual situation.
And she gives you a steely-eyed look with that one good eye and just says, careful, and then wheels her chair out the door.
Oh, I forgot she was in a wheelchair. Yeah. Oh, well.
I was wondering. I was like,
Oh.
why are we sending Agda?
There was no one else.
The dog wasn't listening to me.
The dog wasn't listening. I tried to circumvent going through old Agda.
Is there anything you want to tell your companions before Matthias gets here?
I will just tell them I've been presented with, and I'm just going to shake my head. We're needed over at the sporting house. Chonghu has made the request. We need to do this, and we need to do this quietly and quickly.
Of course, Julian. We're happy to help.
Sure, okay. Let's go.
I figured I should alert Matthias before we head out, just in case there are any additional resources the library can put at our disposal. But yes, we should get going with all haste. Grab any equipment that you need. We're heading out soon.
After only a moment or two, Matthias heads back into the library with old Agda.
Julian, what seems to be the issue?
I fill him in, just letting him know about the request from Jonghu and how we need to handle
By
this
extension,
quickly
Madam
but
Lu.
quietly. And yes, and how it needs to be handled quickly and quietly. We are going to be going with all haste, but if there is anything that he is able to arrange behind the scenes, I would most certainly appreciate his assistance.
He thinks about it for a few moments and kind of lays a hand on your shoulder.
There are perhaps a few things we might be able to do to help you. I can see to it that your transport to Seattle is covered by the library. But if you need to do this right away, I will not stand in your way.
Kind of put a hand up on his shoulder, give it a squeeze. Thank you. Turn to the rest of the group. Now, let's go.
He takes a quick second and pens a note for you to give to one of the mosquito boat captains, letting them know your fare will be covered by the library, and to take you over post haste.
I like to think that prior to, like, maybe a year before and prior to that, anyone with the library could get free passage, but then Kaylin happened, and they were just constantly, like, taking advantage of the free stuff. And so
He was sometimes going back and forth just to do it.
Right, just because they could. And so, yeah, now they're just like, now the library is all, you need a letter for this?
And as the three of you are on your way out with your note, you just hear old Agda kind of chuckling to herself. Can you believe that Kaylin stole one of our books? Reminds me of a man I used to know. And Matthias just, like, sighs and puts his face in his hands like, oh gosh, I cannot. So the three of you quickly make your way across town, down to the Salmon Bay docks. Your letter of passage basically lets any Norwegian or Scandinavian captain know, like, don't wait for the boat to be full. You gotta go now. The library will cover whatever your costs are.
Dope.
As we hand that over, I mutter under my breath, thank you, Matthias.
And your captain kind of reads that over, nods, crosses himself, and goes to get behind the wheel.
And as we are making our way across and just kind of filling you in on the bare bones details, I don't have a whole lot of details at this point, but I am making a point of letting you know nothing bad happens here. We are not letting anything bad happen at the sporting house.
Yes, I understand, Julian. It's like a home to you, so we absolutely will take care of this as quickly as possible.
Yeah. He seems agitated the entire ride over, but gets it together.
Now, as you are all traveling, Phoenix, what is the advantage that Julian is gaining for this mystery?
Yeah, he is kind of thinking back on events of the past and just swearing, promising to himself he is not reliving the past. Things are going to be different.
Excellent. And we'll dig into that
Oh,
one
no.
more as the game goes on. I am so excited about this mystery for you. Don't ask
You
why.
had to
Yep.
just put that right on down right down the center of the plate there for me, man. I'm worried about this mystery.
You know how I do. Now, Bill, what is the advantage that Dr. Lucius is bringing forward on this mystery?
So kind of touching back to earlier, Dr. Lucius has been just pouring over any information that he can find. So the advantage I have is kind of know thy enemy. He's been trying to research and just learn about the Vasen and anything that he can learn about them to try and better understand, identify, and come to, more trying to make heads and tails of this new world he's found himself in.
Excellent. And speaking of identifying the Vasen, Sofie's advantage.
Yes, Sofie has been working to get Yorts to identify the smell of Vossen. It turns out she didn't know what sort of thing he was going to do, but it turns out whenever he smells one of those, any sort of an artifact that has a heavy Vossen sort of vibe to it, he gives a little sneeze. And so she's
precious.
been training him, and hopefully he can help alert them at some point to any nearby Vossen.
All right. The boat arrives in Seattle. The three of you step down the ramp, heading off of the Mosquito boat. It is, by this point, about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. The sun is overhead, and it is a beautiful Seattle day. There is not to say there's not a cloud in the sky might be a little bit of an overstatement, but they are few and far between. And it is one of those warm, wonderful Seattle summers. Julian, you are starting to feel a little worn down at this point. You have been up the entire previous night, and now into the morning when you'd usually be starting to crash. You can definitely keep going, but it's hitting you a little bit.
Look, I'm just telling you, don't stare. If you're interested, let me know. I will make introductions. Don't stare.
Yes, sure, of course.
Look, Lucia, I understand. You can stare at me. It's fine. I've gotten used to it.
I'm just not knowing what to expect next.
I mean, that's standard Julian right there.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. The three of you make your way downtown, going down these various streets. The streets at the time are mostly made of sawdust, which thankfully at least has dried out during the summer. It has been described as the consistency of wet oatmeal in the dead of winter, so it is not great. But much nicer times right now. Madame Lou's Sporting House is a large, multi-story building. The place is this gigantic wooden structure with these beautiful shutters outside. There is a small covered garage set nearby, where there are a number of carriages that the girls will ride about and promenade in, generally above the deadline, to let Seattle's more respectable citizens know what they're missing out on south of that. Currently, the building is pretty quiet. There are bright flowers that are growing from the window boxes, adding little splashes of yellows, reds, and purples. The window frames are all painted gold, and the shutters are salmon pink. And all of this color stands in stark contrast to the stately Church of Our Lady of Good Health sitting across the street. Those beautiful carriages sit under that small awning, just waiting for this evening to go promenading. However, for right now, the brothel's doors are going to be closed. Tonight, they will be wide open guarded by some rather thick-armed gentlemen in stately attire. But, for now, the entire building sits silent. Do y'all head inside?
Yeah, as we approach, look, I know it's the morning. People have probably just gone to sleep a couple hours ago, so keep it low.
And Phoenix, Julian also
like
knows most of the folks don't sleep here. They head out to their homes and just kind of work here. Some occasionally sleep here with hangovers.
Don't want to rouse the ones. Yeah, never mind. It's fine. Walk this way.
And Julian opens the doors and escorts you all inside.
Sofie definitely has a second of, like a pause when she goes through the door just for a second.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't actually been in here before, but she hasn't been into any places like this since she's been back.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of takes her a second to be like, oh, I'm not here for that. I'm here, for information.
Just a little bit disconcerting to be walking through these doors.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling is only intensified as you actually step into the parlor house. The main floor here consists of one very large central room. There is a long bar with a mirror, and along its wall, you see just every kind of alcoholic spirit you could imagine. There are Grecian-style statues of amorous figures, either alone or in groups, decorating the walls, and beautiful paintings of nude women. There are mirrors all over the place that just kind of catch all the different angles of the room. There are plush leather chairs and couches scattered about that someone could easily take an opportunity to sit and recline upon. At the center, there is a large marble fireplace. It's mostly empty now, although a few embers still crackle and spark amongst the soot, ready to be stoked up back into a full fire. Sitting next to the bar is a parlor piano, an easy source of boisterous music most evenings. On the other side of the bar is a single, surprisingly inconspicuous door, considering the rest of this room. And on the other side, there are a set of stairs leading up a velvet-draped hallway that lead to the rooms above. Leaning against the bar is a very well-dressed, elegant-looking man. His hair slicked back with pomade. Phoenix, you immediately recognize Xianghu. And as you three walk in, you see just a little bit of tension leave his shoulders. Good, you're here. Excellent. Before you see Miss Graham, can I get you a drink?
I turn to the others, kind of offering, kind of backing up what Xianghu has said. You've all probably also noticed that upon seeing him there and having him address me, I've taken on a little bit more of a, you wouldn't quite call it a formal posture, but you can see that some of just the, flippant attitude is being backburnered at the moment. Julian seems very just intent on what he's saying and making sure that he is giving all of the information, and just being very direct and to the point.
Lucius will look to Sofie, and if she doesn't say anything, what bourbons do you happen to have?
Xianghu just smiles. The best. What can I get you? Something old?
Looking for something maybe a little reminds me of back home. Do you happen to have any of the, from a Virginian distillery, whitetail bourbon?
I think we could accommodate something. Let me take a look. And he pops back around the bar. Anything for you, Julian?
I'll have my usual.
Is it
Phoenix's face.
a mojito?
I mean, unless there's a Queen Park Swizzle available, I was going just for a mimosa.
Of course, the classic mimosa. So he pulls out a kind of dark brown liqueur and pours that bourbon for Dr. Lucius and gets to work getting out a bottle of champagne for the mimosa. Anything for Sofie?
Well, if you're both going to, I suppose I'll take a little bit of Chambord if you have it.
Oh yeah, they defo got that here. So he pours you up a tipple of that. Whenever you're all ready, feel free to step through the door. Madame Lou will be waiting.
I raise my glass to him, nod, and kind of turn and kind of chauffeur the rest of the group towards the door.
Mm-hmm. He kind of taps his brow a little bit and then goes back to kind of sorting and organizing some things about the bar with a kind of tension of just trying to stay busy right now and seeming to try and be active and have his hands moving. So the three of you make your way through that back room. Beyond the glitz and the glamour of everything that you've seen so far, this one is a little bit more plain. The offices that Madame Lou is using are a little bit more simple. There is a large table, there's a few comfy chairs that have been set up, and there are two figures in this room. Sitting in a back chair, sipping on a mug of hot cocoa, is an exhausted-looking woman. Her hair is disheveled, her makeup is a runny mess. She is wrapped up in a comfy pink shawl and robe. She has black hair with a few pretty pink ribbons that have been woven throughout it, and is wearing a shift and a pair of silk pajama pants that are about 2 sizes too small for her. Phoenix, you recognize her as one of the girls who works here, who goes by the name, or at least the working name, of Dove. And, dear listener, we have something very exciting. We have a guest for this episode. Our esteemed and wonderful editor, Hannah, is here to voice Seattle's infamous Lou Graham.
Well, hello there.
Yay.
Hannah, do you
She's
want
not just
to...
famous, she's infamous.
Hannah, do you want to describe what Lou Graham looks like for us?
Well, she appears to be not quite... Well, she's quite a classy lady. She is dressed up to not quite the nines, but definitely, rich fabric. Her hair is very wildly curly, pulled up into a very tight bun to make it seem as if it's been managed, but there are always a few stray curls that fly away here and there. She holds herself in a proper manner, but even though the rest of this sporting house is quite lavish, quite classy, clearly, this is a place where you go to spend your money, she herself is not dressed up in like all these jewels and heavy makeup. She almost seems like someone you would find just out on the streets, just an everyday woman who happens to be in this highly glitz glam business.
Now, I believe Madame Lou is currently preoccupied with a little bit of work that she is doing. She has 2 ledgers that are in front of her with the different expenses that she's been managing for the sporting house, and is going through those simultaneously, and also happens to have a pet nearby, which is weird to us, but is entirely normal for the time, given that she has a small squirrel with her.
Yorts, no. No.
Bad Yorts, bad.
So just to be clear, it is both Dove and Madame Lou in the room right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And the squirrel.
And a squirrel.
And the squirrel.
Is the squirrel on Madame Lou, or is the squirrel like in a cage in the room?
Oh, just sitting on the table.
Ah, okay.
So as soon as you all walk into this room, Madame Lou kind of looks up from the ledgers and just gingerly takes off a pair of spectacles and like stands up with her arms out and open wide. She's holding herself very, almost practiced, very posh and posed. And she turns to Julian and she goes, "Ah, hello again, my darling Julian. Danke for responding to my request with haste. Ah, and hello to dein Freund as well. As you may already be well aware, I am Madame Lou Graham, and this is my sporting house, where you are guaranteed the best, finest, and most grandest night to be had this side of the deadline."
As she presents herself, I do take her hand and give it a little kiss. And like as you're being introduced and introducing yourself to the rest of the library, I've kissed her hand, and then it's kind of one of those where I'm holding her hand up and almost like pirouetting her to display and to present herself to the group.
Well, I certainly am glad to meet you, Madame Lou. Julian has told us so much about you, and of course, I've heard a lot through other channels as well, and it's good to meet you in the flesh.
Oh, I'm sure. All good things, I hope.
Of course, absolutely.
As if there were any other things to say.
Ah, true.
Yes, it is quite an honor to meet such a established individual of the community, and Lucius will give kind of a courteous bow.
Oh, you flatter me. Now, I am a woman who likes to know who exactly she will be working with. So, please, will you do me the kindness and the honor of telling me your names?
Dr. Lucius Jensen will step forward. My name is Lucius, Dr. Lucius Jensen, and I have just recently come to your city. Been here only a few months, and apart from some rather unique experiences that have led me to the acquaintances of Julian and Sofie, it's been quite an experience from what I'm normally accustomed to.
But you are at least enjoying the city.
Oh,
yeah?
Yes, of course.
Ah, Seattle is a fine city. And you, I hear Sofie? Is that correct?
Yes, my name is Sofie Inge's daughter. I grew up here, actually, well, partially. I was away for many years, though, and have but recently returned some months ago, and I'm learning our city again. Sofie is sort of she's not being like negative in any way towards Madame Lou, but she's definitely keeping her posture very different from how Madame Lou is presenting. Like, she is almost scared of sort of like reverting, and so she's just very like rigid with like her hands behind her back and just like really straight shoulders and just being very still and like almost more serious than she even normally is.
And with that, Madame Lou will, with another kind of like twirl and flourish with her hands gently posed, turn back around and sit back on the chair that she was at and to say, Please, everyone, sit, make yourselves at home.
I'll go ahead and take a seat. Whichever one is kind of most directly in front of her, not obviously trying to get like right up in her nose or anything, but whatever is most directly in front of her, I will go ahead and take that one.
Sofie is kind of glancing at the girl that's also in the room with us, and is just kind of waiting for someone to mention, like she's
Who
not
this is?
her etiquette is too good to be like, what's going on here or something, but she's just kind of like assuming that somebody is going to mention it and explain at some point.
Madame Lou will kind of reach out a hand and just gently squeeze the other girl's hand as well. Just a very soft one.
She sniffles a little and kind of squeezes her hand back.
Madam Graham, Chong-Hu made it sound as if there was matters of quite importance.
Yes.
How can we help?
Well, it is true. I am in need of your help. The situation that we have at hand is not a pleasant one, I am afraid. Last night, we had a guest. A most charming man. One of the best kind of customers. You know the type, a rich, lonely bank clerk, and man of high status. The money he was willing to pay. Anyways, this man, Arthur Northrop, at around 10:30, he requested to spend the rest of his evening with, and she turns to the woman, with our lovely little dove here. But early into the morning, as she tells me, Arthur, well, he was choking, clawing desperately he was, at his chest and neck, and his hair. It turned white as the sheets. Isn't that right, Dove?
She nods and kind of sniffles a little bit.
It was horrible. I woke up to the sound of him suddenly not able to breathe. But his eyes, they didn't see me at all. It's like he was still asleep, but he was clawing at his neck and his chest.
Yes.
I couldn't get him to wake up at all.
Yes, poor Dove. She could not give the man to stop. From what she tells me, she woke up Chong-Hu, and he was the one to restrain the man, Arthur, until he stopped. But it gets even stranger, for they both told me that, and they swear this, that something was pressing down on the poor man's chest throughout the all. Dove, is that correct?
It was like I could see depressions on his chest and his stomach, like there was something pushing on him that I couldn't see. And then, suddenly all the air in the room smelled foul and stale. It was like something terrible was there that I couldn't see at all.
Yeah, I arrived myself shortly thereafter, and she is right, this smell, horrid.
Sofie will very elegantly pull a book out of one of her million pockets and start flipping through it to see if she knows, just to sort of start getting an idea of what this might be.
Start taking some notes, start getting some theories going.
Mm-hmm.
Out of personal curiosity, Aaron, do you already know what this is?
No.
Okay.
Wait, now that you asked me that, I'm like, wait a minute. If I would know what this is, then do I?
I said nothing.
You all also see, as Madame Lou finishes telling that bit of the story, she kind of stops making eye contact with all of you. Instead, she's departing from that practiced pose way that she was before, and instead slightly fidgeting with her fingers, looking down at the floor, and almost opens her mouth a few times as if to say something, but then stops.
Madam, is there perhaps something else to this situation that you think would be helpful for us to know?
Well, you must understand, I pride myself as a woman of honesty and dignity, but this is not the first time that something of these circumstances has happened here. There was another man, many nights ago, and Julian, I thank God that you are not here on that night, for no one awoke to save him in time. Catatonic he was, and with no one around to claim the body, I am not proud to say it, but I sent him away on a ship headed for San Francisco. I do not know what ended up happening to him.
So this is not the first time this has happened in your establishment?
No. And now that this has happened a second time, there has to be some correlation. There has to be. But I do not know what it could be.
were the circumstances the same in that time as a terrible smell afterwards and a similar response or situation of the gentleman in question?
Yeah, it was all the same, and all in the same room. Number 9.
Huh.
The same white hair, the same unfocused eyes, everything. But I cannot vouch for if there was also clothing and someone pressing the man down. No one was awake to see that happening, if it did.
What happened to this Arthur Northrop gentleman? Did he recover, or is he still here, or has he been sent to hospital, or?
9. I didn't know what to do. I could not have the others seeing him. Forgive me, but I've hidden him away, just as I did before. He is alive, and if you wish to see him, Arthur is in the attic right now.
I think that would probably be best, at least to let me go to check to make sure the lad is okay.
Yes, Doctor, that would be very fine by me.
The only other question I have, you said both incidents happened in room 9?
Yes, number 9.
Has the room been used in between either of these incidents, or has it been...
Yeah, it is one of our common rooms.
Now, Julian would also know
I was about to ask.
the rooms here tend to be used by a member of the staff, and so they kind of have their own designated room. Currently, Dove has room number 9. However, she is a very recent addition to the sporting house. So another girl had room number 9 before that, and someone else may have had room number 9 before that.
Was this the room that somebody that I used to know used to work in?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Knowing that, I think as Madame Lou is kind of describing what's going on, Julian is getting very fidgety in his chair, eyes kind of going between something very fascinating on the ground and kind of looking over to Dove. And then as soon as he realizes that this is in a different room, kind of relaxes somewhat, realizing that this is not what he had feared at first, and is just going to kind of throughout this, as this is all playing out, eyes mostly are focused over on Dove and seeing how she is reacting and if she seems to be more or less okay. How is Dove reacting throughout all of this?
Dove is looking very nervous, very upset. She keeps sipping at that cocoa and her hand is trembling just a little bit. She definitely is not in a good space right now. Having watched this guy seeming to choke himself almost to death. And especially having awoken to that. So she is in a rough spot.
Dr. Lucius, do you think that you should we split up and you can go and check out the gentleman upstairs and Julian and I could check out the room, or should we all just go together?
Oh, no, if you both want to check out the room, I'm more than capable of checking out to see the current status of the young man.
If you don't mind, Dr. J, I think I'd like to accompany you there as well.
Yep, of course.
I'll go on to the room then, and you two can join me when you get done.
All right, the pair of you head out into the hall.
I'll go ahead and start leading Dr. Lucius to the towards the attic.
Before you do that,
I will wait
as
for
you as you turn to leave, Madame Lou will reach out and grab your hand and give it a quick squeeze. And she says, Pite, please, Julian, I need this situation dealt with quietly and discreetly, and I know that I can trust you, a star musician, to do so. But they are found. Can they be trusted?
I kind of take your hand, and I'm again losing a lot of the very cavalier Julian flippancy. Is looking very soberly at you, and I will take every opportunity to ensure that this stays as quiet as possible. My friends, we've worked together. I know they can be counted on, and I will only be redoubling my efforts for you.
Danke, Julian. If you say that you and your dire friend know what they are doing, then I believe you. Come to me straight away if you need anything.
I kind of give her hand a little squeeze and give her a kiss on the forehead.
And she lets you go.
The pair of you head out, walking past the bar as Chunghu is still continuing to kind of straighten stuff up and count through some of the liquor bottles and see what they need to restock on, and gives you both a little nod.
Actually, if we're passing him,
Mhm.
so he was actually there. He was the one who restrained. Okay. So as we're passing by, I will kind of nod over towards him. My friend, we're going to be heading up to the attic. Would you be free to join us?
I can certainly do so, of course.
I understand you already have some firsthand experience here, so it might be good to have you along.
He nods very gravely at this, and kind of heads out from back around the bar and heads up with you. Is there anything Sofie wants to do before heading out from the office?
Yeah, so once they leave, she will sort of slowly like head to the door after them. But she turns to Madame Lou and could you direct me which way to find room number 9 so that I can start our investigations there?
Of course. Right this way. And she'll, stand up and open the door and walk out and then just kind of wait for you out there.
Okay. So as I'm following her, but once I start talking, I probably slow down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just wondered, I had some experience with another lady in your line of work, though of course could not hold a candle to you or your establishment.
Oh, you flatter me.
It is just the truth. And I just wondered, when I returned, it seemed that her place of business had burned, and she was obviously, I had no news of her. I must assume she's dead, but I haven't spoken to anyone in those circles, really, recently, and I just wondered if you'd heard anything about it.
Well, I may have heard about the fire, but I am sorry to say that not every woman in my line of work, we do not all know each other, you must understand.
Oh, of course.
There are just too many, the city is just too vast, and some of those women, they are not exactly kind. I do not like to put myself in those circles.
Of course. She was not worth knowing, I will say that.
Well then, perhaps if she did die in the fire, the world is better off for it.
Absolutely. I just thought I'd ask if perhaps you'd heard any rumors or something, but if not, I will leave that ghost to lie exactly where it is.
Yeah, well, of course, in this sporting house, this is practically the place of rumors. A little bit of drink and, the words, they slip right out.
Oh, well do I remember.
Perhaps if you would still like to investigate, perhaps other patrons or other girls, they might have heard something.
Yes, perhaps I will do that when we have some time away from our more urgent investigations.
Yes, perhaps.
Thank you. I appreciate you answering my questions.
Oh, it is no problem. I'm always willing to help out another woman in this particular line of work. Whether she still practices or not, we are always family.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I assume we're probably at the door now, so I'll just...
All right. Phoenix, Bill, the pair of you are walking with Changhu, heading up the stairs in this kind of narrow, winding area past the main halls where all the actual guest rooms are. Phoenix, as Julian walks up one particular stair, it must be that Dr. Jensen and Changhu must have stepped over this spot, but the board is just a little bit loose, and you stumble for a quick moment. And as Julian stumbles, his violin case bumps loudly into the wall. And you hear what almost sounds like something came a little bit loose inside.
Of the violin case or the wall?
In the violin case.
Oh, no.
No!
I grit my teeth and resolve to check it as soon as I can, but I try to put it out of my head for the moment, as we have something that needs to be done. And yeah.
Every step you go up, you hear something rattling in there.
What the shit?
Do you take a second?
This is like when something rolled around in the back of your car and you're like, is that something important? Do I need to stop? I can't stop. I'm on the road. I can't, but it's like constantly back and forth. What should I do?
No, I don't. The violin, it's an important piece to me. It is a gift from Madame Lou. If something has happened to it, I definitely want to know what is going on, but it is not it is not the priority right now. So I'm going to try to put it out of my head.
Okay. It remains kind of a constant distraction as you are making your way up. And you finally get to the top of the stairs where there's a very cramped little entryway. Basically just big enough for one person to stand. And Changhu kind of looks back at the two of you. He's carrying a lantern up here, and that's the only source of light. Pardon me, I'll be just one moment. I just need to get the key for this door.
I offer to hold up the lantern for him.
And he fishes it out of his pocket and opens it up. And beyond, you step out into the attic. There is a very, very large room. It is somewhat disorganized. There are bunches of boxes that have all been piled up. There are racks of costumes and fabulous outfits. You can just barely make out from the lantern light what looks like a full-size sleigh in a back corner. And sitting in a high-backed chair is a man. He's breathing slowly and shallowly. His hair is completely stark white, and he is staring straight ahead. He doesn't seem to be focused on anything, but is just looking into the darkness.
I look over towards him, look to Changhu. This is how he's been the whole time? Since you were able to restrain him?
He nods slowly and sets the lantern on a table and kind of turns it a little bit, increasing the kerosene so that you get a little bit more light on this man.
About how old does this person look?
Early 20s.
Okay, so noticing that and then noticing the stark white hair, I kind of point to that. Was his hair always this color?
He shakes his head. When he came in this evening, it was dark black.
I will turn to Dr. Lucius, and I just kind of spread my hands. This doesn't strike me anything specific. Or actually, perhaps, maybe I should ask you first, Brian. Is there a role that I would know, that I could possibly know, like, what might be causing this?
This would be an investigation or maybe a medicine check as you're searching over this guy.
All right.
Which I would let both of you make.
Okay. I will roll medicine then.
You can pick which one you like.
All right. For Julian, that is 1 success on 5 dice.
All right.
And does Dr. Lucius want to get in on this as well?
Oh, of course.
Medicine or investigation, your pick, although I have a strong suspicion I know what you're going to go with.
He's going to go with medicine. So on a roll of 7, I have 2 successes.
Nice. All right, so both of you kind of take a moment, looking over this guy. You're checking him out. Julian lifts up his hand and notices across the tips of his fingers are dark stains, like the residue of oil or maybe ash from a fire. Bill, while examining him and investigating, you remove his shirt, and his chest is covered in several dark bruises, as well as dark bruises on his stomach.
Are they in a particular shape, or are they just kind of random splotches here and there?
It looks like, I'll give you this with 2 successes, there are kind of 4 large concentrated areas. 2 heavy ones around the midsection, and 2 slightly smaller ones around the upper chest. He also has a lot of dark bruising along his neck.
Is it on the neck? Is it like a singular line that would indicate like a rope, or is it more broad that might indicate like hands or strangulation?
More broad.
More broad. And
additionally, I will also throw this out there, since you did get your 2 successes. The tips of his fingers have a bluish tint below that residue, indicating a lack of oxygen.
Oh. So, just doing these initial kind of physiological checks, Lucius will point out to Julian. So he'll take out like a handkerchief to kind of rub the residue off the fingers to see if he can get something from that, to notices the kind of bluish color underneath. And then between the indications on the shirt and on the neck, this seems to be signs of a strangulation. But now, Brian, I think it was Dove, the other girl that was with Madame Lou. She did not. Now, granted, we didn't look at her torso, but she did not have any.
She seemed fine.
She did not have any bruises or anything around the neck or anything.
None.
Okay.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Additionally, if you didn't know better, you would almost think that someone was pressing or kneeling on him with an incredible force.
Yes. So yeah, Julian, these. I can't account for the shock, the change in hair. Usually, there are anecdotes in medical journals saying that extreme duress, shock, traumatic events can possibly change someone's hair. I can't confirm one way or another just based on what we have, but based on the markings that we see, the bruising on his neck and chest, looks like he has been strangled or had some sort of large weight pressed on him to limit his breathing.
Julian kind of rolls his neck and just kind of mutters under his breath. This is Sofie's expertise. I'm glad you were able to find it. We'll need to let her know, see if she knows anything else about it.
Is there with the gentleman, is he like any response? Like is eye, like any eye twitch movement, or it's just 1,000-yard stare straight ahead?
Very much the latter. It is a long stare. As you're checking him, as you're examining him, he's breathing shallowly, but he is very unresponsive.
And he's being restrained in this chair, correct?
No,
No.
he's just sitting in it.
Yeah, I guess Lucius would keep trying to examine him, see if there's anything on his back, on his legs, his feet, literally anything else that he might be able to find that might help point the direction for this.
Yeah, I'll also ask Chong-Yu to get like a glass of ice water.
That is actually going to be very hard to do right now. Keep in mind, this is before refrigeration. So getting a glass of water, very doable, but you are in Seattle in the height of summer. So even here at night, it is a little on the warmer side, especially up here in the attic.
Well, then a glass of water.
He'll be happy to do so, and he heads down to go get that for you. Bill, Dr. Jensen kind of checks him over. Similar on the feet, you see that signs of bluishness, indicating lack of oxygen, but none of that black residue. That's only on the hands.
It was only on the hands, and there's no black residue on the neck where he was clawing.
Correct.
Is there any kind of scent, or if he takes I can't believe I'm saying that, takes a little bit, like taste it, is there anything that he might be able to discern what the residue is?
Do you actually taste some of it?
Why not?
That's the spirit. Now you're a Vossen investigator. It tastes bitter and foul. It tastes like rotten milk.
Okay, so it's more rancid than like extreme bitter or base flavor.
Yeah, okay. There's a foulness there.
You know you're in a fantasy story when people start tasting nasty shit.
He will quickly spit it out and curse under his breath.
That is a flavor that lingers.
Ugh.
Julian raises an eyebrow, but he's new to working with a doctor, so he doesn't say anything, but does arch an eyebrow a little bit. A very, manicured eyebrow, but yeah.
Anything else you are going to try and do with Arthur?
I mean, when Chong-Yu gets back with the water, I will try to feed some to him, see if I can get him to drink.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is he sitting there just kind of ragdoll, like, so like you pick up his arm and it just flop down, or is it more rigid?
Exactly that.
Okay.
Now, do either of you try to communicate with him?
Yeah, I mean, I tried talking to him several times to see if I can get him to react, to answer me, but I don't think anything is going to be...
Well, Phoenix, since you're going to be doing that, can I get an inspiration test from you?
Oh, no. Inspiration, okay.
I believe in you, Phoenix.
Yeah, no, there we go. That's more like it. That is 0 successes on 6 dice.
Do you want to push that roll?
Yeah, I am.
That's what I love to hear. Roll them bones.
This is important to him. Hey. Okay, so out of a total of 12 dice, I got 1 success.
Now, before you choose what condition to gain, I will let you know what you gain from this success. So you're talking to him, you're trying to get him to communicate, you're asking him what happened, you're trying to reassure him. Very, very quietly, you hear him begin whispering, just barely talking, barely saying anything. And you have to lean very, very close to hear him. And you could just barely hear him whispering, "Betrayed, betrayed, left so alone. She died with a curse on her lips."
Betrayed, left so alone?
Died with a curse on her lips. You also pick up on the fact that whatever he's talking about, it isn't himself, but it's whatever nightmare he is currently seeing and experiencing. Feel free to choose a condition that you gain.
Feel free, Phoenix.
Consider your options and find one you like.
Yeah, well, I mean, this isn't hopeless. There's a little bit of fear. I think, you know what? I think he's going frightened on this. As he's telling me this, I will try to press for more. Betrayed who? She died. Who is she?
You don't get anything further from him.
I kind of shake his shoulders a little bit. Who is she?
His neck just kind of wobbles around bonelessly.
I have my hands on his shoulders, gripping a little tighter than I probably need to, and just eventually let out a long breath and try to regain my composure. Kind of back away from him.
And as you take a step back, your foot bumps that violin case, and you again hear something rattling around.
So I will, so hearing that, and I'm a little flustered. You know what? I'm actually going to change my condition from frightened to angry, because I think that actually feels more like what I'm experiencing right now.
Excellent.
And just trying to make sense of it, I kick the violin case and hear it. I just kind of let out just a disgusted breath. And as I'm turning to kneel down and open up whatever is going on in the case, I'm just relaying to Dr. Lucius, talking about being betrayed. Something about she died with a curse on her lips. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. I think I might have broken something here. Give me a second. And I'm going to flip open the violin case.
And inside, folded up, is a little piece of paper on top of your violin. It wasn't there when you put the case in.
Yeah, that was the next question, but I already knew the answer to it.
You open it up?
I take a moment. A moment.
To say, do I still have my drink from earlier? Can I just hand it to Julian? Just here.
You probably have finished it by now.
And you said, sorry, is it crumpled up or it's folded?
It is neatly folded in half.
Nothing obviously visible as far as writing on the outside of it.
Nope.
I look down at it. I look up at Lucius. Did you put this in here?
Lucius just kind of cocks one eyebrow, really?
Just another long, drawn-out exhale. And he'll go ahead and open it up.
And something should have just popped up on your screen, Phoenix.
Secrets.
Mm-hmm.
Dramatic tension.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
For our audience, not for Dr. Lucius or for Chang-Hu, what does that note say?
Nothing of consequence. It's fine. Everything's fine. There is what looks to be a blood-stained note with the words, "I know what you did. There is still blood on your hands. Help them."
And this piece of paper has a slightly sickening sweet smell, like rotting flowers.
What?
Can I get a fear test from Julian?
Oh, boy.
Julian, what the fuck?
Don't worry about it.
Fine. Yeah, no, that's a failure. That is 0 successes on 6 dice.
Listen.
And I am not going to push that because that 100% feels reasonable.
Computer viruses are a thing. I'm just saying.
You could push this roll, but you would take 1 mental condition from failing this fear test, and you also become terrified. When you become terrified, you must either flee, freeze, faint, or fight.
So, I have a question. I don't want to fight Lucius, but this is making, especially with his previous condition of angry, he's not
in a
real happy
situation
about this.
There's no enemies around,
Yeah.
you would just start destroying things. So you would probably rip up the note, you would throw around costumes, you would break some of the mannequins in here.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, as this happens, I crumple it up into a ball and I'm just yelling, but I'm not yelling words. It is just screaming out in rage and frustration and frankly a lot of fear.
Okay. Dr. Lucius and Chong-Hu are left to watch just this, like, panic and just flailing rage that comes over Julian as he starts flinging things around in the attic.
We're like 5 minutes in and I've already got 2 mental conditions. This is gonna be fine.
I told you I made a special adventure for you.
As he's venting his frustration, is his violin case in any danger here, or should we pull it back just to keep it out of harm's way?
Not a terrible plan. So Lucius pulls that violin case out of his way, and is also making sure that none of this is gonna spill back over onto Arthur Northrop.
Yeah.
And Julian has a long, angry moment, just like breaking boxes up in the attic. I do want to make sure that we get back to Sofie, though. So, panning away from this scene, down the stairs, down the next set of stairs, we find Sofie at room number 9. The door has been locked, but Madame Lou has given you a key for it. Do you open it up?
I do.
Okay. Inside, the first thing that hits you is the smell. This room reeks of stale sweat, decay, and strongly smells of rotten teeth.
Of what?
Rotten teeth.
How does anybody know what rotten teeth smells like?
That's rest assured, specific. Once you've smelled it, you'll never forget it.
Oh, no.
The window in this room is actually partially ajar, but the smell seems to be coming out of the room itself. These foul smells are at odds with this gorgeous-looking room. There's a lush, well-appointed bed with rumpled sheets. There are several scandalous illustrations framed upon the walls. There are thick velvet drapes, both across the walls, and also a thick carpet. On the nightstand, there's a vase of flowers, but they're all dead and wilted. Does Sofie try and open up the window to maybe even clear more of this stink out?
She does. I will say, like, the second that she opens the door, she has a moment of, like, disgust, not because of the room, but because she remembers the rooms at Madame Myrtle's, and they were not like this.
They smelled better.
And then she gets the smell, and she forgets all that because it's overwhelming, and she leaves Yorts outside because she knows, he's what is it? Cats have like 10,000 smell receptors in their nose or whatever. She doesn't want him to have to smell that. So he can stay on the
doesn't need any of this stank.
Yeah. So yeah, she rushes over to the window and throws that open and sort of tries to wave the window to try to get some of the smell out.
Interestingly, when you do rush over to that window and kind of fling it open a little bit further, all the flowers in the flower box on the window are dead.
Oh, Christ. Can she... So, she hasn't seen what Lucius and Julian have seen, but she did get the description from Dove and from Madame Lou, and so with that and with the smell, can she remember anything from her studies that this reminds her of?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
However, would you like to make an investigation check to try and search through this room?
Yes.
All right, feel free to roll it.
Oh boy, here we go. Oh, what a waste. 3 successes on 9 dice.
All right. That's great. So, Aaron, do you remember what happens when you get extra successes on investigation tests?
Something good. Hold on, I don't
Correct. This is actually because you have a special talent called Sixth Sense.
Oh. Yes.
Specifically, when making investigation tests, you can spend extra successes to learn if a Vasen has been in the area, gain a more or less vague impression of what kind of Vasen it is, and find out if magic has been used.
All right. Maybe not a wasted extra success.
Mm-hmm.
Dope.
So, I will first tell you that with just one success, you actually find something interesting. Searching under the bed, you actually find a letter. So, I will share this one with everybody. Aaron, would you be willing to read what the letter that you found says?
Sure. To my darling Thomas, I can hardly count the days until we are together again. I long to be in your arms, and the prospect of marriage has taken my breath away. I spoke to Father Ryder, and he has agreed to perform the ceremony, and while I haven't told Miss Graham yet, I'm sure I will have her blessing. Faithfully yours, Anne Eriksdotter. Anne Miller. No, wait. Ingrid Miller. No, Anne... Fuck! So, I suppose that she is debating whether to sign it with her real name or the name that he knows her by, or one of her, stage names, if you will.
Right on the money.
Yeah.
Additionally, I will give you an option, because you fucking crushed that roll. You can either utilize your Sixth Sense to gain some additional information about the possible Vasen, or you can get an additional advantage for use during this mystery.
I want to know about the Vasen.
All right. You have a couple of different options available to you.
I need instant gratification, Brian. I can't wait for a possible...
Reasonable.
Yeah.
You can learn if the Vasen has been in the area. You can gain a more or less vague impression of what kind of Vasen it is, or you can find out if magic has been used here.
I want to know what kind of Vasen it is, because I feel like the best, our best defense in, trying to combat it is to figure out what it is.
Perfect. So reading through this note, searching through this room, being in this space, it takes a small little sound coming from the hallway as you hear Yorts just cat sneezing over and over again to kind of pull your senses back and help you realize just how cold your arm and shoulder have gotten.
Oh no.
That feeling of just an oppressive chill running through you. And as you look and stare at the bed, almost a sense of something begins to take shape there. Sofie stares into the middle distance, and she can just barely see, without using her eyes, something coming in through that window. That narrow little gap that was open on this hot night, and then suddenly taking shape, some kind of feminine form looming over the bed, its hands pressing down with unnatural strength as the breath was taken out of the person beneath it.
Okay.
I will give you +1 success on your learning test when you make it. So not +1 die, just +1 level of success.
Hell yes. Guys, did you guys know that rolling good was good?
We don't know about that here.
I mean, it's never been a topic of conversation for me, so no.
So after a few minutes of you searching through this room, you weirdly find yourself slightly inured to the smell, although you do need to get a handkerchief out and cover up. Julian and Lucius are able to make their way back downstairs. Julian having taken a beat. Have you packed up your violin case from upstairs, by the way?
Yeah, I will thank Lucius for moving it out of harm's way, and that's about it. But yes, I do pack it back up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Before we head back down, Lucius will kind of square up Julian, brush off his shoulders, like, take a deep breath, take another, let's go.
I do so as best as I can.
Aw, Julian had an auntie and now he's got an uncle too.
You are able to each share information, and right off the bat, if someone would like to make a learning test to know what this Vossen is, you can do so.
Let's do this.
Aaron, you get a +2 bonus on this test, and you get 1 automatic success.
So I'll take a swing trying to use my advantage of know the enemy.
So for this one with the learning test, only 1 character can make it.
Only 1. Okay, then Aaron should do it.
But you can assist, so you could both add +2 dice.
Okay.
So she gets a +4?
Yep, and then more if she uses some equipment.
Nice.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't fuck it up.
I mean...
Roll all the dice.
No pressure.
I'll use my book collection and, I'll pull out one of the books out from under my skirt and like flip to the section that I think it is and, try to...
You could even search your old scrolls.
I could... Oh, I forgot to put those in there. I thought I did. I swear I did. God, I have a lot of bonuses on this one, and I feel like I should save the old scrolls for when I don't have all those.
Okay.
Whew.
All right.
2 successes on 12 dice.
So is that 3 total then? Because she gets +1? Nice.
It is. So, Sofie, I have good news for you. You know what this is. As soon as you started to hear those details, everything clicked into place. Arthur Northrop has undoubtedly been attacked by a mare.
Okay.
The mare, or Mara, are cursed women who unknowingly transform into nightmarish Vossen by night. They ride their victims, forcing breath from their lungs and subjecting them to terrible visions and dreams they can't wake from. When the mare transforms back in the morning, she has no memory of what befell her during the night. The mare's curse can be broken by loudly proclaiming that the woman is a mare right as she is transforming back into human at dawn. The mare can become an oily black smoke to travel from place to place. While she is in the form of black smoke, she can pass through any opening as small as a keyhole, although she can be trapped by filling the gap she passed through. It's said that keeping a steel scythe over your bedroom door could grant you protection from a mare's curse. Mares have obsessive thoughts and feel compelled to count objects. Cow hairs placed in a hymnal, flax seeds spread over a bedroom floor, or a bundle of birch sticks will distract her, as she must count them over and over to be exact. A woman can become a mare if she is subjected to a curse, either through use of witchcraft during childbirth, or from an unmarried woman who died longing for the warmth and intimacy of another. A mare-ridden person who kneels and promises marriage may stop a mare's attack, but if they break their vow, the mare will pursue them to their end of days. When telling the woman she is a mare, it must be said in her mother tongue. When breaking the mare's curse, if the timing isn't just right, she may lose a hand or a leg that hasn't finished transforming back.
Oh boy.
You got a lot of info for 3 successes.
I did.
All right, do you relay all this information to your allies?
Of course.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll say she's sitting there thinking furiously as they're telling her all this stuff. She hears Yorts in the hallway sneezing, and she immediately goes to the exact right pocket for the exact right book, and she's almost just confirming her thoughts at this point, and she just opens to that entry and she reads all that to them.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, this is definitely what it is.
Perfect. And the three of you, by the way, the two of you, just so you know, were as affected by that terrible stench from this room. Like, it smells awful in here.
I'm assuming it's reminiscent of basically the flavor I got off the residue on Arthur's fingertips. Yeah.
Accurate. And as Sofie shares all of this information to you, you realize you hear something coming from the hall. It is the sound of a cat growling. And then you begin to hear something else coming from all around you. Sound of scratching and scrambling noises.
If I hear Yorts growl, I will immediately run out there.
Okay.
But go ahead,
So
sorry.
Sofie books it out of this room. Julian and Dr. Jensen notice those velvet draped walls suddenly start to bulge.
I think we might need to vacate this room.
Out in the hallway, paintings are shifting on the walls. And suddenly, out of every crack, every crevice, out from underneath furniture, from cracks in the ceiling, come rats.
Oh.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of rats with urine yellow eyes come scrambling forward towards you. But we'll get to what happens next time on our next episode.
Okay,
All
I was
right.
gonna type it, but I'll sing it instead. Yorts out there like, a fair is a veritable smorgasbord, orgasbord. When all the rats come out.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.